Welcome to the College Investor Audio Show, where we talk about the biggest issues impacting millennial money, from student loan debt to side hustles to building wealth. We will show you how to get out of debt so that you can build real wealth for the future.
We are talking getting paid today. How to convert hourly wage to annual salary. Let's take a look at it. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. Okay, so there are many different ways to get paid, and there are some slight differences in how that might affect your taxes, cash flow, and some other parts of your life. Some employees are paid hourly, earning a set amount for every hour that they work. Others might get paid hourly, but also receive tips or other compensation. Still, others are paid on a monthly or even annual salary, earning a flat amount regardless of how many hours they work. And if you're a business owner, consultant, or freelancer, you kind of get paid for completion of a particular task or milestone. So to help compare different jobs, it can be useful to know how to convert an hourly wage to an annual salary. The difference between being paid hourly and salary. Let's take a look at that real quick. So an employee being paid hourly receives a set amount for each hour they work, of course. So someone earns, say, $15 an hour and works 20 hours in a week would have a gross income of $300. 15 multiplied by 20. The amount that an hourly employee gets paid is directly correlated to the number of hours that they work. The more you work, the more you get paid. If your hours are cut, you get a smaller paycheck. In contrast, a salaried employee's compensation is not tied to the number of hours that they work. Instead, salaried employees are usually compensated and evaluated based on specific accomplishments and achievements. Unlike hourly employees, salaried typically do not have to track their hours or clock in and out. However, if a salaried employee is asked to work additional hours, it won't translate to extra earnings. While you might get a pat on the back from your boss, well, that's nice. Working extra hours as a salaried employee doesn't entitle you to get paid more, unfortunately. All right, so let's do some simple multiplication to figure this out. One common scenario for wanting to convert an hourly wage to an annual salary comes into play when trying to compare two jobs. It can be challenging to understand at first glance whether a job paying $25 an hour earns more, less, or about the same as one paying a $50K annual salary. Thankfully, we got an easy trick to convert an hourly wage to an annual salary. This is, of course, always assuming a 40-hour work week. That's because there are about 2,000 hours in a standard work year. There are 52 weeks in a year, and if you work 40 hours per week, that comes out to 2,080 hours worked by a full-time employee each year. But it can be convenient to round that to 2,000 hours to make the math easier. So to convert an hourly wage to an annual salary for a full-time employee, just multiply the hourly wage by 2 and then add 3 zeros. So a $25 an hour job is approximately equal to a $50,000 salary. 25 times 2 is 50, and then 3 zeros. $50,000. Simple! All right, but here's how to convert hourly wage to annual salary. This simple trick only works if you're using a 40-hour work week. The math is going to be different for, different number of weeks. So let's take a look at a couple more examples. Working 40 hours a week as a salary. So as we just figured out, if you're working 40 hours a week, you can just double your hourly rate and then add 3 zeros to the end to get your approximate equivalent annual salary. Making $20 an hour while working 40 hours per week is roughly equivalent to a $40,000 annual salary. Working 20 hours a week as a salary. If you're working part-time at around 20 hours per week, it's also pretty easy to calculate this. You can just take your hourly wage and calculate it as that many thousands of dollars. That's because 20 hours a week for a whole year is approximately 1,000 hours. Someone making $30 an hour for 20 hours has an approximate annual salary of $30,000. Take the 30, add 3 zeros. Bam! Working 30 hours per week as a salary. If you work 30 hours a week, the math is a little bit more complicated, but still not too difficult. 30 hours a week is about 1,500 hours for an entire year. So just multiply your hourly rate by 1,500 and get an approximate annual wage. You can also just take the numbers for 20 hours per week and 40 hours per week. which might be easier to calculate in your head, and then split the difference. So someone working 30 hours a week at $20 an hour would make an approximate annual salary of $30,000. Minimum wage as a salary. Okay, figuring out how to convert a minimum wage job to an annual salary depends on how much you're making per hour, of course, and also how many hours per week you work on average. You can calculate an approximate annual salary for a minimum wage job by multiplying your hourly rate times your average number of hours worked in a week, and then multiply that by 52 weeks in a year. Someone making $15 an hour, working an average of 27 hours per week, would make an average annual salary of $21,060 before taxes. The bottom line? There are two main ways people get paid: salary and hourly. There are pros and cons to both forms of payment, but it can be useful to convert between an hourly wage to an annual salary. Just easy to compare that way. This can help if you're trying to compare, an hourly job and a salaried position. If you're working 40 hours per week, it's fairly easy to convert an hourly wage to a salary. Just double your hourly rate and add 3 zeros and put a comma in there after the first two numbers, But a $20 hourly rate is approximately an annual salary of $40,000. Not too shabby. And that is our show for today. Quick and easy. If you want to find out more, dive into more ways on how to make more money. If you're working an hourly job and you want to have maybe a side hustle or two along with it, just to kind of make up the difference, you can find hundreds, no joke, of ideas on side hustles and more at thecollegeinvestor.com. Also, follow us all over social media. We are everywhere. Wherever you are, we're probably there too. Just search for The College Investor and you'll find us. We'd love to get to know you and help you along in your journey. Thanks again for stopping by today, and we'll talk to you again real soon.